Gary Giordano. His appearance on our show after he was released from prison in Aruba provoked a lot of debate and also an emotional response from Robyn Gardner's boyfriend. In just a moment, we're going to speak live with Gary Giordano and his lawyer. But first, let's take a look at how this story has been unfolding over the past few days.
The person that I cared about, it will weigh heavily on me for a very long time.
Gary, you have something to say to Robyn's family?
While Gary Giordano is now out of jail and out in public telling his side of the story.
We weren't drinking heavily. She was walking, I was walking. We were a sober couple, okay?
His comments seem to be raising as many questions as they're answering, especially with people close to Robyn Gardner.
He doesn't seem to be too forthcoming in with the story.
Robert Forrester was Robyn Gardner's boyfriend. He spoke to George Stephanopoulos Friday live on Good Morning America.
What's the big question you want answered?
Where's Robyn? I mean, where is she? You know, you were the last one to see her. Where'd she go?
His other questions? Why was Robyn, who hated to swim, snorkeling with Gary Giordano the day she disappeared? Giordano has always said she was pulled out to sea while he frantically swam to shore.
Everybody does know or knows she's not going to go into the water. Whether it's her hair or her makeup getting messed up, whether it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon, that doesn't matter.
Forrester also questioned Giordano's seeming lack of emotion. In his lengthy interview on GMA, Giordano only said Robyn's name once. And then there was this response to Giordano's assertion that perhaps Robyn fell into the hands of human traffickers, which he said are active in Aruba, which is only 15 miles away from Venezuela. Forrester thinks that is actually plausible, but that Giordano may have had a hand in it.
You know, he did mention that human trafficking is part of Aruba's revenue, and he's right. He's right.
So you're suggesting he may have sold her?
I think it's an option.
Giordano is now returning to his life in Maryland, spending time with his 3 children after 116 days in jail. But he may never be free of suspicion.
I believe that he being the last person to see her and with her is responsible.
So let's go straight now to Miami and Gary Giordano alongside his attorney, Jose Baez. Gentlemen, good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Gary, let me start with you. Richard Forrester raised a lot of questions in his interview with us. We're going to get to all of them, but let me start with his big question, which is what happened to Robyn Gardner in those final moments? I know you say that you've discussed this with police many times, but here you are publicly, and I want to give you an opportunity to discuss it with us and to answer the questions for her family, who still has a lot of questions. So take us to those final moments off the coast of Aruba. What happened?
Yes, we both entered the water, and as I mentioned, I think in the last interview and several different interrogations, that at some point I became distressed, found out that I had a problem coming back to shore, and Robyn was, I thought, behind me, and she wasn't. And I turned, did not see her, and I went for help.
Now, you have said that a storm came in at this moment, and that's what put you in distress. Now, you didn't say it just now, but you have said that in the past. Is that what happened?
I've never said there was a storm. What I have said is later on, the next day, I noticed on the news that there was a tropical storm north of the island, okay, which was causing the wind to become windy one moment and dead the next moment. So there was no storm, no freak storm that came up and washed us out to the ocean. That was, I believe, some other reporter had mentioned that as a statement before a question.
So I'm just a little bit confused. So you're out swimming, and for some reason you got distressed and decided you needed to head back to shore, and you turned around and she was gone.
Okay. At some point, it was time to come back in because I noticed that we were getting in deeper water. So as I signaled to her to turn around and come in, I turned around and came in, and then I had a problem coming back in. I had no thought that she was distressed because I was wearing, shoes on my feet that had started weighing heavily on me. So I came back, and then I turned and I couldn't find her.
And that was it. And that was the last time you saw her. You have no idea what would have happened to her out in the water, why she all of a sudden, somebody who, based on your story, appears to have been able to swim, would have just disappeared.
That's correct.
You have suggested in your interview on GMA on Thursday morning, you brought up the possibility that perhaps human traffickers were involved. So walk me through how that would work. A boat full of human traffickers
I don't know how
would
that
pull
would
up
work.
and take her out of the water, and you wouldn't notice?
I don't know how that would work.
Then why did you bring it up?
While I was in prison, I had talking to several prisoners, and they had told me that some of the people that lived, some of those prisoners are native to the island, and mentioned that that location is very dangerous, currents and so on, and also mentioned that boats come from Venezuela, a half-hour away boat ride, and they drop off illegals and they swim the rest of the way in, and they had mentioned several of them don't make it to shore because it is dangerous there. So that's the knowledge I have of that. And also the detectives, when they interviewed me and so on, they had mentioned that they had, there was a boat out there. I didn't see a boat out there. They had mentioned there was a boat out there, and they were investigating that as well.
Although
So
prosecutors
that's how-
have told us that this story about human traffickers is one that they do not find credible. But let me ask you, let me put it to you this way, Gary. You are a father of 3. I understand you love your boys very much, and you're very protective of them.
Yes.
If one of your children, heaven forfend, went missing, and the last person to see them alive was telling the type of story that you are telling, would you buy it?
You know, I think that's a silly question, and we're not going to get into scenarios with Gary's children. If you can leave the children out of this, we would really appreciate it.
All right, let me leave the children out of
Gary's
it. If
done,
somebody
Gary's
you
done the
love
stand-up
Gary,
thing
if
and
somebody
come
you
forward.
love Gary
and then,
went missing,
I'm
would
sorry, I
you
can't hear
buy
you. I
the
was just
story that
talking.
you're telling?
I'm sorry, I was just talking. I didn't hear a word you said.
I'm
What
asking
what
a
I was
question of
saying
your
is if we
client,
can
which
keep
is if somebody he loved went missing, would he buy the type of story that he is now telling?
Well, I
From
don't
the
think
last
I
person
don't
to see
think,
the loved one alive.
Well, this isn't a story, and we're not asking for people to buy it. Gary's come forward, told what happened that day, and basically there has been absolutely nothing presented that contradicts that version of what happened that day. So, you know, judges and appellate courts are not in the business of letting people free who have evidence of guilt against them, especially in a country that presumes guilt and holds you without bail and can do so without charging you. So they exhausted every resource possible on the island of Aruba and the United States and Holland and found zero evidence that implicates Gary. Now, there's plenty of fodder going on and plenty of nonsense and stories, like you like to call them, but there's absolutely nothing that indicates that Gary is guilty of anything. He's done the stand-up thing and come forward immediately to clear his name. And, you know, I don't know what more an innocent person can do.
Gary, a lot of people have questioned your seeming lack of emotion here. You only mentioned Robyn Gardner's name once in your interview on GMA on Thursday with Robin Roberts. Are you emotional about this? And how do you explain what seems to be a reasonably flat affect?
I believe I was emotional several times during interviews.
In your own defense, but not when it comes to Robyn Gardner, who is somebody you were apparently quite close with and is now missing.
I don't know how to answer. Nobody's asked me direct questions about my relationship with Robyn and do I miss her. Nobody's ever got into that. And I'm not quite sure how many times I should mention Robyn's name before somebody's satisfied. I do miss her, and I personally feel like, you know, I'll see her again, it seems. I mean, that's how I feel in my mind, that I just haven't come to grasp with she's gone. I was released from prison 4 days ago, being there for 4 months. It's difficult. It's very difficult.
Gary Giordano appearing live on GMA this morning. Thank you very much for your time. Also, Jose Baez, his attorney, alongside him. Thank you both once again.